Hello, welcome to this video. This is the 29th annual Dignity Conference of Human Dignity and Humiliation Studies, and we are here in Indore, Madhya Pradesh, India. And we just had a wonderful Dignilogue together with Mike Morgan. My name is Evelin Lindner. I'm the founding president of Human Dignity and Humiliation Studies. And the message that Mike has to the world, to my view, is extremely important. He's working with deaf people, and his message is that deaf people can contribute something to the diversity of this world that is very enriching and that everybody ought to listen to.
Yes, I think I've been working with deaf people for several decades, and I probably came to the field with some preconceived notions that maybe all of us or most of us have, and the general feeling, I think, and it doesn't matter what country you're in, is that deaf people or other groups with disabilities are somehow medically inferior and they need to be fixed. That's the typical model from
deficiency.
Deficiency model that operates in the governments a lot of times, in the government institutions dedicated to hearing handicapped, within the
already the word handicapped.
Yes, within the medical community, where mothers, fathers don't have information, and they take their small child to the doctor. There's something wrong with him, and the doctor automatically says, "Okay, we'll do this for them. We'll put a cochlear implant. We'll give them a hearing aid. We'll fix them." Okay. And then during the 20-some years that I've been involved, gradually within deaf studies, there's been a shift, and this was fairly early in that period, to no, really deaf people are a cultural linguistic group. They have their own language. The language is different from the surrounding spoken language, but it's equal. Okay, it's different in many different ways, but it's not in any way inferior. Anything you can express in a spoken language, you can express something equally sophisticated, complex in a sign language. And within the community, they have certain value systems that may or may not be different, but they do have some values that are different from the surrounding community. One of them, of course, is respect for their own language and respect for visuality, that information, whatever, is gotten through the eyes as well as through the
and you
ears.
had this wonderful example with the puzzle.
Yes, and so now we're in a new stage within deaf studies, and it's called deaf benefit. And so it's actually the opposite of the first stage, where deafness is seen as a deficit. Actually, now deafness is seen as something, as God's gift, as a benefit, and that is deaf people have, because of their language, because of their culture, they actually have certain skills, abilities that most of the rest of the world doesn't have. And I do teachers trainings, and quite often at deaf schools in this part of the world, more in Nepal. Right now we're in India, and there are some schools that also are like this. The teachers are maybe 80% hearing and 20% deaf. And on paper, the qualifications of the hearing teachers is always more than the qualifications of the deaf because of the education system. And even though they work together, quite often the hearing teachers have an attitude, which everyone else outside of the school shares, that they're somehow superior intellectually, and that deaf people, okay, they have this language and they can communicate better, but in cognitive terms, they're not as developed. And so, giving the trainings, I've come across a number of examples that then support this idea of deaf benefit, and one of them is a quiz that's spatial. And so you draw a box, a multi-dimensional box, but on a flat surface. And so you can see three sides of the box from your perspective. It's at an angle. And those three sides have different designs. So one of them might have one dot, one of them might have three dots, the other one has stripes. And then next to that you have that same box unfolded, so it looks like a sideways cross. And it has those three designs, it has two of them on boxes. And then the task, the quiz is, as quick as you can, this third design, say the stripes, which box, where does it go? Relative, so that when you fold it up, the two boxes look exactly the same. And what's the orientation? Are the stripes horizontal, are they vertical, are they diagonal this way? And so in the group where there's maybe 2 or 3 deaf teachers and 8 or 9 hearing teachers, as soon as I finish drawing the boxes, the 2 boxes on the board, the deaf teachers have their hands up ready to answer. And I say, just, wait for everybody else, give them a chance. And usually about 10 minutes later, the first hearing teacher kind of hesitantly raises their hand, and it's like, okay, come to the board and draw, and it's almost always wrong. And it's because deaf people have developed cognitively, because of their language is very three-dimensional. It operates in space, and grammatical concepts, grammatical things like what's the subject of the sentence, what's the object, that has to do, it occurs in space. And so deaf people have this cognitive ability to rotate things in any direction that's three-dimensional or even four-dimensional, and understand. And so they can very quickly solve the puzzle.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I think this is such a good example of how diversity can be enriching and is not a handicap, not a deficiency.
Yeah.
And how we all in this world can look at that. What I would really love you to show us is the sign language for oppression. You showed that before.
Okay.
And dignity and arrogance.
Okay.
Because my way of explaining dignity is saying dignity is if I look like that, arrogance is like if I look like that, humiliation is this, dignity is this. So is this a little bit? No,
one thing to modify the question, because if you say sign language, it's very difficult because different countries have different sign languages, and so they have different signs for all these concepts.
Right.
And so since we're in Indore in India, I'll use examples from Indian Sign Language. Okay. And the sign for oppression is fairly universal, so it's one that if you go to different countries, even if they have a slightly different sign, it will be understandable to them what oppression is. And sign languages use hand shapes and motion, and so for oppression, the typical sign, one hand would be the 5-fingered hand spread, and the other one would be one finger. Okay? And what this represents is deaf people are usually in the oppressive situation, they're the one person that's being oppressed. So if they're mainstreamed in a regular school, they're the only deaf person. Or if they're in a family, all their mothers, brothers, sisters, they're all hearing, they're the only deaf person. And so oppression is this larger group pushing down the deaf person. Okay, so that's the sign for oppression.
And humiliation, would it be the same?
And so humiliation would probably be the same. Okay. Yes, I don't think I've seen any distinctions between the two. For dignity here in India, it's a modification of the sign for pride.
Okay.
And pride itself comes in 2 different forms. We can have someone is proudful, that is, they're too much pride, where they're above somebody and their nose
arrogance.
is too arrogant. Yes, too much in the air. And the other is just pride. You're proud to be an Indian. You're proud to be a member of your family, your caste, your whatever. You're a teacher. Your organization group. You have pride. And so dignity would be simply D. This is the finger spelling for D here in India. D, pride.
Wow.
Which also could be deaf pride.
Wow. And what would be arrogance?
And so arrogance is way up in the nose. You're way up, so that you're not looking at the people anymore. You're looking up in the sky.
Okay.
And for me, when I give trainings, also I say, okay, yes, you're not looking at other people, but you're also not looking down into your own soul.
Okay.
Because your eyes are focused so high up in the air, you can't see yourself and what you're doing to other people and your own participation in humiliation and that sort of thing.
Wow. Yeah. And would these signs be like what would be in other sign languages? Would be similar, like
for oppression it would be similar. The hand shape for what's being oppressed might be different. It might be like a fist hand shape, but it's still being pushed. And sometimes it's pushed. And this will also be, it's like an extension of not only are you oppressed, but you're pushed out of the way.
Wow.
Behind. You're relegated to the back.
Wow.
The sign for here in India for pride is also the sign in America, but in other countries, in Japan, this is pride.
Oh.
In the sense of arrogance.
In the sense of arrogance.
Yeah, with your nose is way up in the air.
Okay, this is arrogance.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And dignity would be the
dignity, I think in Japanese would be kind of this. This is equality.
Yes, this is equality.
This is just normal equality. Things are on a level. But if it's like this, it means me and you.
Me and you. How wonderful.
And we're on the same level.
Wow.
Yeah.
And respect?
And here in India, respect is this. Respect.
What does it?
This is the finger spelling for R. And this is, you're giving the person respect. You're bowing to them a little bit. You're respecting them.
Okay.
In Nepal, it's respect. You're taking your hat off. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in America?
And so, again, would be respect. This is the American sign, finger spelling for R.
Okay.
And so you're giving respect, again, from your head.
Wow.
Respect. Yeah.
And you know that a sign here, I have learned that younger children should touch the feet of elder.
Yes.
And they should bless. And this is another way of respect.
It certainly, yes. Pranam. Yeah.
So thank you so much. Thank you,
Certainly.
thank you.
Very happy to be participating in this conference.
Thank you.